almost immediately.
Here's the thing, you know, I think it's a criminal. Goes like I got and took him to like the big bossy in Canada and dumped him in his well.
Yeah.
They'd have me in the pen so fast my head would spin.
For sure.
But look, if they can come out here and do whatever they want to. And they don't even have to report it and tell us what they're putting in there.
The whole concept of democracy and looking out for the little guy does not apply here.
Exactly.
It
and I'll tell you, I ain't not lying. I never seen such lying, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their word ain't no good.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and we was all raised that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your word ain't no good, you ain't no good. Mm-hmm. And you talk to these are grown men lying to you.
Right.
For what? For money. And that's it.
When we had ours tested with them to have tested and they found glycol in it, it cost us $4,400.
Yeah, for what? Certainly burning on the surfaces like a plastic.
Glycol ethers are odorless, colorless, and are a liquid chemical component of plastic.
Something definitely in it.
When Lewis took a blowtorch to his water, I think we found a cheaper way of testing for glycol ethers. Either that, or a secret Wyoming recipe for homemade plastic.
Here, wait.
Okay.
I liked Lewis immediately. Cool 70s patterned mirrors, cowboy statues everywhere,
And what about these?
and the most comfortable couch in the United States.
Ready? I ready.
That's good stuff. Should be on the buffalo hides. That is fab. Wow. John Fenton and his wife Kathy have 24 gas wells on their property, all of them visible from their front porch.
I was raised here, and at one time, there was nothing. I mean, there was no oil, nothing.
Now you
All
have
this-
everywhere you can see.
Everywhere you can see. Yeah, and like we can really sell this place with the water situation, and, well, look at it. We don't own our mineral rights.
Now see this black cow right here at that little calf? That little calf's, you know, probably less than 12 hours old right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a new one there. We've only got a certain, you know, amount of water wells to work with, and God, I don't know how they even drink it, to be honest with you. It's the damnedest smelling stuff, and comes out different colors all the time, but you got to use it sometimes. I think we should strive to be the cleanest and the most environmentally conscious that we can. A lot of times it's right out in the middle of the field. You know, that's where we make our money. You see the green grass growing, that's money to us, you know, and that's fertilizer and that's feed for the cows, that's everything. And they tear up a football field-sized area and drill a hole out there, and they spread toxic chemicals, and then on top of that you got gravel and rocks and big pieces of metal, and then they pipeline everywhere, and it just cuts us to pieces. There's no rhyme or reason to how they do things out here. They do it different on every hole. There's different people, nobody's watching over them. You know, it's a free-for-all.
John Fenton describes his home being surrounded by venting condensate tanks. At times, the fumes from the condensate tanks are so strong, they surround the house in a cloud of toxic vapor.
And you can come out here when the sun's coming up, and the air is just brown. The first 100, 200 feet of air is like a brown blanket laying over the top of everything. And, you know, not only are all the animals in there breathing it and absorbing it through their skin, but all the people are too.
Kathy and her mother-in-law, who lives right down the road, suffers from headaches, dizziness, and a loss of smell and taste.
It's going to be, I know they say you have to let them drill. You know, you got to come to a compromise. You know, we already know that. We've already compromised as much as we can compromise. If they do any more drilling out here, it's just going to force people, you know, it's going to force us out of business off our land. The less people they have to deal with out here, the more they can drill. But they can drill whether we like it or not. It doesn't seem to matter that we're affected. Humans are being affected.
If I'd known what it was going to be like, I don't know that I'd brought my family here. I hate to say that because, you know, so some people might see this and wonder how I could like this, but this is my way of life. You know, my father and my grandfather were the old-time cowboys, you know, And my grandfather on my mom's side, they were farmers in Nebraska. This is my family heritage, and my wife's, this is their family farm, you know. We're proud of this, but by God, if your way of life is being besieged and your health is under attack, I don't know what else you can do. I don't know where the hell I'd go, though. Where else can I go? This is happening everywhere. That's the biggest thing I want people to know is you're not alone if this is happening to you, because I'm in the same boat you are. And what we need to do is we need to get together and we need to stand up and we need to speak with a unified voice and we need to stand up to these assholes. These little guys are really enjoyable to watch and be around. And we want to raise the best, most natural, clean product that we can raise, you know. And by God, if you're breathing in dirty air and you're drinking water that could be tainted, what's going into these girls and what's coming out in those calves, you know? You got to be sure that what you're putting in them to raise that meat is as pure as it can be, you know? Cute as they are, and in a year or two, they're going to be on somebody's dinner plate. Actually, this next well we're coming up on here was probably one of the worst ones for Kathy and I. It was a neat little secluded spot. You could go have a picnic, you know, if we wanted to come back and just talk, and where nobody knew where we were at. It was right here, and it was all these cool looking kind of rock formations out here, and it's just gone. Everybody kind of has one of those, and ours is under a dozer, you know. It just disappeared. It took them one day, and it was gone. You couldn't recognize it anymore. It's amazing that what took Mother Nature millions of years to build can be destroyed in a few hours with a piece of heavy machinery.
I was lucky that between John Fenton's house and where I was going was Wind River Canyon, one of the most beautiful places in the United States, almost enough to keep my mind off of where I was going next. I was going to one of those moonscapes I'd seen in the photographs, one of the biggest and most productive gas fields in the United States. The Jonah gas field is at the foothills of the Grand Tetons. Just to the south, Yellowstone Park and the Bridger Teton National Forest. Sublette County, at 4,935 square miles, the county is about the same size as the entire state of Connecticut. The population is about 6,000 people. That means there's about one person per square mile. Much of Sublette County is BLM land, Bureau of Land Management land. Our public trust, your land and mine. You can camp anywhere on BLM land because it belongs to you, the public. The BLM's stated mission is to sustain the health, diversity, and productivity of the public lands for the use and enjoyment of present and future generations. The Energy Task Force, headed by Vice President Dick Cheney, asked the BLM in 2001 to find ways to open new federal lands to oil and gas leasing, and in what some call the greatest transfer of public lands to private hands in history. Dick Cheney persuaded the BLM to lease millions of acres to gas companies for exploration and drilling. The derrick tower that you see is the drill rig. The drill rig moves in for 3 to 4 weeks, drilling a hole that's anywhere between 11 and 8,000 feet down to the shale formation. Each well completion, that is, the initial drilling phase plus the first frac job, requires 1,150 truck trips The breakdown goes like this. Drilling rig mobilization and drill pad and road construction, 10 to 45 truckloads. Drilling rig, 30 truckloads. Drilling fluid and materials, 25 to 50 truckloads. Drilling equipment, casing, drill pipe, etc., 25 to 50 truckloads. Completion rig, mobilization, and demobilization, about 15 truckloads. Completion fluid and materials, 10 to 20 truckloads. Completion equipment, 5 truckloads. Hydraulic fracture equipment, pump trucks, and tanks equals 150 to 200 truckloads. And here's the big one, hydraulic fracture water. For each well, 400 to 600 tanker trucks. 400 to 600 tanker trucks. Hydraulic fracture sand, 20 to 25 trucks. Flow back water removal, 200 to 300 truckloads. Which means that all the water that goes down, only about half of it comes back up. What you see here is the flowback pit of what you call flowback water, frack water, or what the industry likes to call produced water. Before the water can be hauled away and disposed of somewhere, it has to be emptied into a pit, an earthen pit or a clay pit, sometimes a lined pit, but a pit where a lot of it can seep right back down into the ground. Colored flags. I have no idea what those are there for. Maybe it's the grand opening of a new pit. I mentioned the problem of water removal. 200 to 300 trucks per well. That's a lot of water to clean. To get around this problem, the industry employs evaporation sprayers. In the flowback pits, the water is sprayed into the air in the sunlight so that it evaporates faster. Now, of course, you're probably saying to yourself, that's insane. That water contains all the fracking chemicals, which are toxic, and all the volatile organics, which are also toxic. They create ozone, hazardous air pollutants, and they fall down in the form of chemical or acid rain on the grasslands. Each well site is equipped with a mini refinery and storage unit. What you see here is what's called a separator. When the gas comes up out of the ground, it comes up wet. The separator heats it up to 212 and boils off the water. The BTEX chemicals, the volatile organics, benzene, toluene, xylene, and a host of others, are all evaporated right there on the site. The gas is then pumped into a pipeline to go through further stages of refining. The big tanks you see next to all the gas wells are condensate tanks. The condensate is stored in the tank until a trucker can come and haul it off. The condensate can be anywhere from produced water, which is unusable, to a low-grade jet fuel. It's just sitting there, like a big explosive battery, steaming off volatile organics directly into the atmosphere 24 hours a day. Numerous air pollution advisories in Sublette County were posted by the Wyoming Department of Environmental Quality, stating that ozone in the air had reached unsafe levels. Ozone's good in the upper atmosphere. It keeps out the radiation of the sun. But down on the ground, it burns holes in your lungs. Sublette County, the size of Connecticut, 6,000 people, had air worse than Los Angeles on a typical day. Right there's a pronghorn antelope. Pronghorn antelope is not a part of gas development. But the Pinedale Anticline and the Jonah gas fields are directly in